Hi, I'm Debbie,
And I'm Jan.
and today we are working on Your Questions Answered, the April edition.
April edition, and we're out front of my house today because someone's tearing down a bird cage behind us, and it's a little noisy. You might still hear a little beep beep every once in a while.
Yeah, it's pretty noisy, but it's a nice day here in the Villages. So,
Yes.
our first question was from our favorites. Becky Peterson asked, "Are there scrapbooking groups or crafting groups?" There are both and everything, and any group that you want. You can just reach out to districtgov.org and request whatever kind of group you're looking for, and they can guide you in the right direction.
You can also download on the same website the whole list, and it's in alphabetical order. So, I mean, just a few that I picked up were basket weaving, crochet addicts, eye of the needle stitchers. I mean, you name it, and definitely there's scrapbooking and any craft that you can imagine.
And doesn't that also give their contact information?
Yes, it
like
gives
the club leaders.
Yes, there are
whatever you
roughly
call them.
3,000 so far. New clubs are formed all the time, and they do give the person's contact, their email, and usually their phone number, so you can contact them. So, yeah, a lot.
Yes.
The video we did on our favorites, Susan Christie asked, "Do you have an opinion about where to purchase a golf cart?" Well, personally, we have bought from 3 different places. One was a Parcar, which you can only buy from Parcar, but I don't think they're making them right now. After COVID, they kind of put a little, unless from the last time we watched, they're not making any, or went there, they weren't making any new ones, but they make the Emerge cart, and maybe that's more popular than the Parcar.
And that's an electric one, right?
That's electric.
Okay.
And we bought one in Carts and Clubs, 2 of them actually, in Ocala over the years. Very nice company, but they're way up there, so they have to come and service your cart or take your cart there. And the Villages, of course, has theirs, and they sell Yamaha, Club Car, Easy Go, and Star now. And it's very easy to get your car worked on, and they're really good to give you a loaner if it takes too long.
Yep, that's part of the agreement. Even just to get your service, like when we drop ours off for service, we usually get them serviced once a year. When we get them serviced, they will give us a loaner just for the couple hours, even a scheduled service. The one thing that I will say, though, I always thought that was a great convenience, having the Villages so close and being able to do that and having the loaner. Leo called recently to get a belt. I don't know anything about carts. To get the belt fixed.
Yes.
I go to the store to get my belts. But anyway, it needs a belt fixed. And they said that they are all the way until probably about 4 weeks out yet, 4 or 5 weeks out. So the problem is
so many people are buying.
So many people are buying from them. And so that's a nice service. But if it's something that's like the belt is slipping, so it's causing his cart to jerk. So
I will say that there's a belt shortage, because we've had the same problem with my new one. Yeah, and even Carts and Clubs up north, they couldn't get a belt for a long time, and when they finally got one, it's slipping. And
but this was just to get us in.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So
well, there's a belt shortage.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of places, like we use the Cart Guy. So there are some like Cart Fixer. There's some private small repair guys that, and so we're getting it fixed within. Well, and this is because we have a crazy schedule. He could get us in like the next day, and we're like, we can't. But anyway, but it's just that's the one downside I will say with going through the Villages is they're busy,
especially this time of year.
Yeah,
because they have a bunch of rentals out also, and they will sell new, reconditioned, and pre-owned. So you don't have to always buy a brand new cart.
Nope.
And they stand by warranty also with the reconditioned and the resale pre-owned. So anyway, there's lots of options.
Yeah, just check and decide what kind of cart you want, and then kind of hone in on things, because I think there's something also about Yamaha, because actually my husband just wanted to buy the belt and he was going to put it in himself, and they said they can't. Yamaha requires that a professional install them. So anyway, so that was that. So the Villages has some sort of contract with Yamaha, so I'm not sure you can buy a new Yamaha cart except through the Villages around here.
Right.
There's probably some mileage thing they've got. So anyway, just decide, go try out a bunch of stuff, get your best deal. There's lots of places.
Because ours is doing the same thing. So I think it was just bad belts.
That could be. That could be. Susan also asked, do you have someone like Massey do your quarterly yard fertilizing and or bug prevention? So yes and no. As far as our yard goes, we do 4 times a year, every 3 months, we put down Scott's bug, the stuff to get rid of the chinch bugs, and we also put down our own fertilizer. So we do that ourselves. It's not that big of a deal. We've got our little spreader. We do it. As far as actually mowing our yard, though, we do have someone mow our yard. Not that we are not capable, but the problem is that, and so if you're somebody that likes to travel or you're seasonal or whatever, the problem is you can't just call somebody. You can't mow your yard and then go, oh, we're going to go on vacation for a month, and then call somebody and say, oh, could you come mow my? And they're like, no, they've got their
Contracts.
yeah, their contracts, they've got their clients, and so they're usually pretty full. So if you like to travel, that was the main reason that we did it, is because we like to travel, and so it was just going to be too hard to worry about the yard. So anyway, so we cut our own yard. I mean, we don't cut our own yard. We have somebody cut it, but we do fertilize our own yard and use the bug stuff. And for the inside bug prevention, we do use a company also that we like. It's called ProTech. And so I do like ProTech for the bug prevention, because anytime I've had an issue, we've just called them. They've come out, which we really haven't had many issues at all. But if I see a bug, I call them and they're right there.
Right.
You guys have somebody you like also.
We use Massey for the termite protection.
Do you? Okay.
And that's $145 a year. And they want to come out and inspect it every year as part of that deal. And then we use Lico for the outside, the fertilizer in the yard, and they come every other month, and it's $50. And then for the bugs, they spray outside most of the time, and sometimes they come in, and that's $50 every other month. And the same thing, if we have a weed problem, or we have those dollar leaves, what are those called? The dollar.
Oh yeah, they're
they're
called
annoying.
dollar something. They're weeds.
They're annoying, and they will get out of control. Usually, it's from overwatering, and so they'll come out anytime, usually within a day. So yeah, good services here. Let's see. The next one is: have you done a program to talk about the things that people dislike about living in the villages? And we've done one about our likes and dislikes. But that is a good idea, because some of my friends that know that we do this YouTube channel are always saying, well, you know what I don't like, or you know what gripes me. So that might be one that we will do in the future. And thanks for the idea, because we'll get a little panel together and see what their dislikes are. Get a new opinion other than ours.
And Susan Goodman asked, do y'all have an email address where people can contact you? And we do. And I can't tell you what it is right now because I'm old. So
I have it.
Do you have it? It's
yes.
Villages 365.
365 villages at gmail.com. And villages is capitalized. So yes. And I think you answered that question also on that.
On the yeah.
Yeah, to
I
her.
Did at the time.
And
yeah.
So yeah, there you go. Maybe I'll email you someday through that.
I'm really bad.
Okay, now we're down to the ones of shocking surprises.
Yep.
And Rebecca Ryan asked, is there a minimum age for club participation, or are there any fees? And you must have a village's ID, or if you rent, the temporary village's ID. And they're all free, but if you get, I don't know, maybe into a club where the person running it might go get supplies, that's the only reason I would think there would be a fee.
Well, and actually, I'm a member of the Platform Tennis Club, and they charge a $10 annual fee. But I will tell you, for $10, these people give free platform tennis lessons.
Oh, okay.
So they offer all these lessons. So the balls are all provided. So, I mean, there's a lot that they're contributing for your $10, and that they have all sorts of socials. They do, bingo night during the Derby. They do this horse game, like it's a horse racing game. You bet like you're betting on the Derby and stuff. So for the $10, you get a lot. So I would imagine some clubs may have
a fee.
Small
now that I
fees.
think about that, I have a friend that joined the ski club. There's a ski club, and they do have annual dues, and I think that's just for the person who's setting things up or making reservations or doing all that he has a little kitty that he can use while everybody's getting their money in for a trip.
But I think, I mean, like I said, platform tennis, $10 to me for what they do. It's nothing. So what I would suggest is Jan gave you kind of the idea at the beginning of where to go, the districtgov.org website, and just reach out to one of the I don't know what they're called, the people that run it, the captains, and ask them, if they have any fees. But that would be the best way to find out if there are for what you're interested in. So. Sandy K, do you pay for visitor IDs or are they free? And is there a limit on the number of guests at one time? So do you pay for visitor IDs? No. You just go to the website that's also at Villages,
Villages
or District.
Yeah, and you can also get it through the villages.net.
That's right. The villages.net is where we go to. Yeah. And so anyway, you go in there and all you're going to need the person. So it's important to know you need to do their name, their address, their birth date, and then you need the days and that they're going to be here to when they leave. So you'll need to do all of that information while you are inputting that on the computer, or you can go to one of the rec centers, not all of them, but there is a list of which rec centers you can go to. And when you go to the rec center, you can just give them all that information. They input it and they will go ahead and issue the ID right there on the spot.
Right, yeah.
So
it's a little bit of a wait, so to do it online is easier.
Yes.
When you just walk in with and take your village ID,
your
you
own
pick them
ID.
up.
Yep.
And then you can pick them up.
Yeah. And I will say, I recommend to all of our guests, and not everybody always not everybody asks, but always have your village's ID, the guest pass, on you, along with your own ID, obviously, for minors. It even says it on the pass, minor ID or something, whatever term they use. But anyway, but always have your ID with you, because the thing is that they want to make sure that the right people are using the passes, that you didn't just order it in somebody else's name, so that your friend down, because we talked about this in one of our videos too, but you cannot get passes for people who are in Lake, Marion, and Sumter County. The idea with that is that if we had friends, like I have a lot of friends from Ocala, I could have them down here all the time using our amenities, and it's not really what that was designed for. Right. It's really designed for residents and their guests, and although they're my friends, it's a shame because I get it, but I get the other side too. Right. People might be down here all the time using our amenities, and then we wouldn't be able to get in and do the things that we want to do. And I don't know about the limit. I've never heard of there being a limit, and I've not heard of a time frame limit as far as how long people can be here, either with a guest pass.
I think it's 30 days.
Is it 30 days?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I know minors aren't supposed to be here for more than 30 days. But I didn't know if you had like a friend come visit you from England or something, if there was a time limit. So
yeah, because we can check into that, but I thought it was a 30-day deal. And when the kids came here for Christmas one year, that was 8 passes that we got for the week. But I suppose if you are requesting 50 guest passes, they may wonder what's going on.
They may ask questions.
And they do keep track.
Yes.
Of
They do.
How many guests and how old the guests are. I'm sure it's part of the stats that they like to keep track of. So that's part of the deal. I think everybody thinks it's kind of controlling, but there's a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, the next one is from John and Jane R. Why is the Villages not building any country clubs south of 44? Well, this is my opinion. I think it's probably at this point too costly. Don't you? Because when they first started doing these, the Villages was smaller. So then they had that country club feel where you would go and you could golf, you could buy clothes, then you could swim there, and that was a priority for swimming. And then they'd have a nice restaurant and bar there. But as they started building further down south, I think they kind of quit doing that. Isn't the last one Belglade, the last one?
Well, and it depends on what you're considering to be the country club, because Southern Oaks is the only championship course currently south of 44. And in Sawgrass, they do have a pro shop.
Yes.
And from what all the people that work around there, like all the starters and stuff like that, have always told us, is that they kind of considered Sawgrass as their country club. So like if you go to Palmer or Belglade or whatever, there's the pro shop, and then right next door is a restaurant, country club restaurant. And so instead of doing that, and so maybe it was their test to see, like, how does this cafeteria type situation work, or do people prefer the nice sit down after golf and whatever? I don't know. But somebody had said that they basically were considering those like the country club in place of the country club,
Right.
because there is a pro shop there. So you now can buy your
There's a
shirts
couple
and
restaurants
golfs
and
and
the quick
yeah.
little restaurants, but also a lot of people, because the golf course or country, what they call country clubs, they're not really a country club, but if they live in that area, they don't even golf, but they go eat there
Mm-hmm.
or go have a drink there. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of going to one of the squares to go eat or somewhere in Lady Lake or Sumter or whatever. And so I think they keep experimenting.
Yes. And so we'll see when because there's
Yeah.
new courses, 2 new championships, I think, going in this year. So we'll see what happens, what goes in with them.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see. So stay tuned, because there may be,
Always something going on.
yeah, yeah. Tom K asked on the same video, can you provide any reassurance regarding homeowners insurance? Personally, I cannot give any guarantees
I don't
about
even know if the
anything.
insurance companies can
Yeah.
guarantee that.
But I will say, I mean, it's gotten expensive for sure, but we have insurance. And, the roofs was what people were saying was a lot of the issue. That was some of the issue, but let's be
Yeah.
honest. We've been blasted by hurricanes for the past, 5 years? We've probably had
Yeah.
3 majors
Yep.
come through. That doesn't help. Also, and I don't know, because I'm not an insurance person, so I don't know how this works, but I think of insurance as a pool. And so we're not only paying for Florida stuff. Louisiana was battered. One year we were lucky, we escaped all the hurricanes, and poor
Yeah.
Louisiana got just wiped
Just last
every
night.
single time.
Well, look
So
what's going on in California now with the flooding and the
yeah.
plethora of snow that they're getting
So
and storms. So
I
yeah.
don't know. But I haven't heard of, the one thing I can tell you, me personally, I've not heard of anybody telling me I cannot get insurance. I have tried and I cannot get insurance.
And the Villages has their own insurance company, which is probably pretty well funded. Our house insurance is Allstate, but Castle Key, I think, is one of a company that is under them. So if Castle Key gets hit all that, with all that, it can go broke, and yet Allstate will still be safe. So a lot of them make these little
reinsure,
yeah,
basically.
yeah.
And the Villages is a broker, basically, because we're through them, and they've got we have ASI. There's a bunch of companies. Basically, ASI is Progressive now, so they go through all the bigger companies anyway. So,
and we just redid our insurance and bundled. I mean, if you bundle, of course you're going to get a
little bit better deal.
A little bit better deal. But yeah, I mean, insurance is kind of like gambling.
It is. That's pretty much what it is. Legalized.
Let's see. The next one's from Dally. How long have you lived in the Villages? I'll go first.
Mm-hmm.
We bought our first house on the historic side on Orange Blossom golf course in January of 06, which was a rental with the intent of someday moving down here. And somehow we came here in January of 2009, and we bought the house we're currently in. And then after that, we became full Florida residents. And because of the no state tax, and my husband traveled all the time, so it didn't matter really where we lived, and why not live here? It's paradise. So yeah, we've been here for a while.
And we bought our home. My dad lived down here, which is how we ended up even buying our home here. My dad moved down here in the 90s and said, this might be a good investment for you. So in 2001, I bought a house, and it's the house that we actually currently live in. From 2001, we retired in 2015, but that whole time we used it as a rental. And then, because I don't like everybody else's dirt, as soon as we knew we were going to retire, I came down with my daughter, actually, and we basically gutted the whole place and started from scratch. And it was a lot of fun. We did, somebody asked us to do a video on some of the expenses you could incur. And so I think that will be a great video, and we will work on that. Because there are some things like we didn't, because it was a rental, and I never did intend to move here. So this was the interesting thing, is I never did intend to move here. So I just bought a little 2-bedroom, 2-bath. We didn't upgrade anything because it was a rental and it's going to get
Yeah,
some abuse
right.
anyway. So the funny thing was, is we basically had to treat it as if it was an old home that nobody did anything to that we bought. So we
Right.
came down and we poured a bunch of money in, but it was a lot of fun designing it all. And so anyway,
Very
but
beautiful.
thank you. But so anyway, so we've lived here full time for, this is our 8th year, and we've had the home for 22.
And we've remodeled ours 3 times. So, but that's just my husband. Not everybody does that.
Being bored.
Yeah. I think it's yours.
Oh, okay. George Vicari asked, does the Villages have rules against renting to folks under 55, and what are your thoughts about it? So no, and this is a big hot topic right now in the Villages. So no, you can rent. The only like hard and fast rules, you can't be under 19 to be here. That's like the big hard and fast rule. You can't have kids here is the
Yeah.
bottom line.
Yeah, that's the big rule.
And so, you could be 30 and come down and rent. Now, I will say too, the whole reason that, so 80% of the residents have to be over 55, which means 20% do not. The whole reason for that is so they can call it a retirement community. So that's the primary deal there. That being said, I don't know if you're 25 or 30 anyway, because the majority of the people are older.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're 25 or 30, I'm not sure people really are going to be like, woohoo, this is where I want to come and rent. Maybe. I mean, I think like our kids love to come, they have fun, but I mean, I think it's because we're here. Like, would they come?
Right. Yeah.
Would your kid, I don't think that my kids would just come down and rent a place. Not to say that other people wouldn't or
Well, and I
whatever,
think that
but
maybe because if they have a good job here, they don't have kids yet, that would be one reason maybe not to have to drive or whatever. And, I wouldn't, because even when we came down here when I was 49, I felt like I was a youngster back then.
mm-hmm.
And that everybody was 100, which they weren't. But to me at
When
that
you're young,
age, yeah, when you're that age, they all look old. But and another problem that Villages that we have here is the Airbnbs, and
Yeah. So right now, that's the big hot topic because people aren't happy about I don't think anybody ever really minded the seasonal rentals a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Although when we had ours as a rental, our neighbor, I will say, she built basically a bush fortress, let's just say, behind the house because she apparently, I didn't even know, my neighbors told me this after we moved in, that she absolutely hated that we had renters. And we had really nice renters and we did it seasonal. We had the January people came for a month, the February people came for a month. We had some people in March there. I think March and April were the same people. So anyway, we didn't have this fast turnover, but the fast turnover with the Airbnbs and the VRBOs, from what we're reading, is becoming a little more prevalent, and people
Mm-hmm.
are not happy, which I get that. Like if I lived next door to that, I think I would be unhappy too.
And like when we rent somewhere in another state with our kids, we take our kids and we all go to one house, and then you have the chaos of people coming and going, multiple cars. And I think that right now is, if you read in the paper or the Villages news, that somebody was really upset down south that
Mm-hmm.
they found out that the house was purchased just for a Verbo. So,
And
I don't know what they can do about it.
well, actually, but I do. They
Oh, do
could
you?
go to one of the cities. Like if you live in Wildwood, the Wildwood portion, they could go to the committee there and the town, the town council, and request that they do an ordinance against rentals, anything shorter than a week, 2 weeks, a month, or whatever.
Because I'm on
So
long weekends, yeah.
they could ask that. And I was actually reading because I found this interesting. So a friend of mine was looking for a home down in the southern area, near Fenny, basically. And I was reading the guidelines and the decks and bylaws. And one of the things that they said is that the Villages has the right to basically change or enforce any rule they want to. So basically amend the decks and bylaws. And it said something along the lines of, your home is for your own recreation and enjoyment. And if somebody's doing something to impair your enjoyment, the Villages has the right to. So in my opinion, that could be a little wiggle room where somebody could say, you know what, I can't enjoy my home because I'm sitting on my lanai and there's a huge party over there every day
music,
because it's a rental and it's a daily rental. And so anyway, there may be some ways, if people pushed hard enough, there may be some ways to stop it.
Well, and as the first person says, hey, I don't like this, and then somebody else was reading it and going, well, hey, I'm in the same boat, so you're right. I mean, eventually
it
the forces will join
something
together.
could
And,
happen.
yeah.
So be interesting. That's still in play. So we'll see how that plays out. But so anyway, but I don't think there's a bunch of kids here
No.
renting. I
Yeah.
don't think.
Our next one is Naperville Real Estate Life with Jill
Lasek, I would say.
Okay.
Lasek.
And she was asking, do you find the areas up north are much older? And I think that she's asking about age-wise, the people up north, because it's, it's an older neighborhood. And I would have said maybe 10 years ago, yes. But now particularly our neighborhood has really changed over, and there's a lot of younger people here than Mark and I are. And so I would say that the people that are original owners in these houses, built in the 96 and 97, are moving or going back to where the kids are, or into assisted living or whatever, or apartments. And it is turning over, and I would not say that this is all the oldest people.
Yeah, I feel the same way too.
Yeah.
I feel like I think that there's pockets, because I have a family member that bought a home in Pine Ridge, and that was when that was newly constructed, and they said, well, there's a lot of young people. This is where all the young people are. And I went to a block party, and I found that their young people were about like our young people, and their old people were about like our old people. So I think it's just, and honestly, most everybody here is very young at heart. And so I think age is very much a number. There's a gentleman I play tennis with is 82, and he gets out there with the best of them, and you would never know he was 82. I mean, it's a number, and I don't really think of it much. So.
Right.
Pluto asked on the same video, what is patriotic? Being loud with your opinions? Because we had mentioned, or I think it was actually me that had said, I find that the Villages is very patriotic. No, what I am referring to there is people vote. Sumter County has one of the highest turnout rates in the county, in the state, as far as voter turnout. I find that to be patriotic. I find that people stand up when the national anthem is sung. I find that people put their hands on their hearts. They will sing. I don't sing because I don't have a very nice voice. Nobody really wants to hear that. But no. Anyway, so, but, things like that. A lot of flags. My neighborhood, I know you can only decorate these types of things for a short time around the holiday. But anyway, like the 4th of July, Memorial Day,
Veterans Day.
Put their little Veterans Day. They put their little itty bitty flags like along the yard, and all of that. Flags flying out on people's homes. So that's what I'm talking about, patriotic. I think that the people here really, truly care about the country.
Yes.
And maybe it's because they have more time to watch and have an opinion, or maybe it's because we've all lived a little bit longer, so we have stronger opinions. But
Right.
No, I don't think yelling at people is being patriotic. No. I think that's being obnoxious. So,
and I did look up patriotism, and it said it is the feeling of love, devotion, and a sense of attachment to one's country.
Boom. That's exactly what I was going for.
Period.
All
right. Next one, Ralph Schultz. Do you have holiday parades down there? Yes, we do. And I think we've covered a couple of them. There's St. Patty's Day, Mardi Gras. The Christmas parade we didn't do because I think we're both gone during that one. There used to be an Italian-American parade, but now it's called Heritage Parade. And then people can dress up in their Irish outfits or Scottish skirt and whatever, which is a little more fair because I think people are going, why do the
Italians get everything?
Why can't we get something? So I'm basically a mixed breed of lots and lots of countries. So I would have a hard time picking an outfit.
Pretty much any time. Socks from one area.
Yeah, there you go. It could be a hodgepodge, but
anytime there's a reason for a party, the Villages has one. And honestly, this time of the season, December really through April is heavy fest time. Yes. So there's always a reason for a party, and they're always going to throw one. So.
Exactly.
So Frank Keel asked, how long does a dental appointment take? How bad are your teeth? No, I just had to say that. Anyway.
That's what I thought.
I'm assuming what you mean is to get into a dentist. And honestly, I can't tell you that down here because every year we go back to Illinois, and so I go up there. Do you go to a dentist down here?
I do. I go to Palm Dental, and when you do your 6-month checkup, you make it for the next 6 months. And if you cancel, you're going to wait for a cancellation to get back in. And especially during this time of year. So yeah, but if you have an emergency, you can basically get in. And that's probably why they keep some things open, because someone broke a crown or someone broke a tooth. So I am not having any trouble, but we just kind of plan our stuff 6 months in advance. And especially if you have like the assistant that is really good at cleaning your teeth,
Everybody wants that.
Yeah, everybody. And I have one, and you don't let your appointment go because she's way out there. But I had to use another one, and she was fine. But I do have my favorite. So yeah, it's not that big a deal. All right, I have to turn the page. Now we're on to, oh no, now I have to say the word, Oka Humpka.
She got it.
I was reading it though, because if I had to do it off the top of my head. Allison Leger, if we want to enjoy the fire pit, who lights the huge pit, do we have to come with a truck of logs? And I happened to look that up, and on the Villages Community Development District, Recs and Parks, there's an application that you can do, and there's also the rules and guidelines. So the hours of operation are from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And I think you have to reserve it. You have to be a villager. You have to have a guest ID. And there's only one reservation allowed. And I don't know how long they do them.
But you know what? I called.
Oh, you can't have it for more than 3 hours. So
really?
Multiple people can use it. But this is all on the.
When I called the rec center, actually, when we did this video, when she asked that question, and the guy said that they were booked up the whole month.
That doesn't surprise me.
Whatever month this video came out, when Allison asked that question, I called over there and he says, "But we're booked up this month." I was like, "Okay then."
Yeah, but you can find all the rules. It's a one-page rule and a one-page application. And also, I think Finney has one, and the responders have one.
Oh, there's one up there too, first responders.
So I just noticed that the other day while we were there.
I didn't remember that. So. Last question is from Dorothy Farrell. Are you gals paid by some group or the Village's administration to do these YouTube videos? And also, I did not see any solar energy units on rooftops, or did I miss it? So with regard to your first question, we are not. The Villages, we've even asked them to we asked one of their realtors to come on to do a video because we wanted to get their side of things, and they declined. They do have their own channel, so I think they want to control the information that's being put out, and they want to make sure that that they handle that. So anyway, we are not even paid. Well, we're barely now paid by YouTube. So as far as, are we paid by some group? We're barely paid by YouTube.
Right.
We have made I think we're up to $250 or so now. So
over a year we've been doing this, and lots of hours and lots of editing.
Yes. So anyway, so no is the answer to that question. And when you said you didn't see any solar energy units, that is, I would venture to say that that's mostly true. And I know when I responded to this, what I said, and I still think that that's mainly true. Most of the homes that you find them on have pools. And because my husband and I were looking in, when we first moved down here, we were looking in, I really wanted a pool, and we were looking into that. And to heat a pool is very expensive. If you have a gas or electric heater, it would be very expensive. Yep. And my thought was, would I use it? We travel a lot, so we travel during the summer because it's hot and rainy here. So I was like, if we travel, then when am I using it? And I'm using it when it's colder. And if I'm using it when it's colder, I'm probably going to want to heat it. I don't want this big cold bathtub in my backyard. I'm just sitting on water. So a lot of the solar panels made a huge difference in the cost. Of course, you had to incur the cost first.
Yeah, it's an investment up front. But what also, because we were showing houses in a brand new area, most of those people have just moved in. And they're still building.
That's true too.
What we showed you were brand new houses. And then later they might say, hey, we're going to live here forever. Let's put in solar.
Yeah.
But I can count on this street the number of people that have put up solar panels, and every one of them has a pool.
Okay.
And I know the neighbors down here, they bought theirs already done, so they didn't have to, do the cost. And they actually sell energy back. So they make a little bit of money, and so basically their pool is always very warm and
free.
And I did look that up, how much they cost, and the average cost is like between the big spectrum is $3,500 to $35,000, and it would always depend on how big your house or how many panels you want. but it's more like a 16,000, 20,000. So then you need to do the math and say, how long will I be here? And, but you never know how energy is going to go up with, things going on right now. So if you're younger and you're going to live here forever in one house, it was probably a
Maybe
pretty
think
good
of it.
investment.
Yeah.
But you have to take them off to re-roof.
Yeah, and I mean, my bill only runs my electric bill, which we had it really good for a while. They had we're through Tico or Seco. I never, one's gas, one's electric. So obviously through the electric company, it ended up that they had purchased a bunch of electricity really cheap, like 10 years ago. So our bills were never over like 120, never. Then all of a sudden I got hit with this big bill and I was like, what happened? And I called them and they said, well, we're getting a lot of phone calls. That package expired. But I still have to say, even during the summer last year, I think like our peak bill was maybe like 160, 180. So you have to really do the math. If you're going to put out $16,000,
Yep.
you've really got to do the math on how long that will take you to recoup it.
Yeah, and you might want to wait if there's a big tax break off your taxes,
That
to
could help
encourage
too.
people to do solar. And so wait
Might be a
and
good
see that
time.
and say, hey, because that's how we bought our park car. It was an electric vehicle at the time. And so we got a tax break off that right off the bottom of the taxes. Anyway,
So that does it for your questions for the April edition.
and thanks for your questions.
Yes. And we always enjoy reading everybody's comments and questions.
Mhm.
It is fun to hear other people's sides of things and how things come across to you guys out there. So anyway, thanks for always watching
And like and subscribe.
and enjoy your day.